Well, today I thought it would be fun to make some Christmas cake pops for the dolls. Stay tuned and see how fun and easy these are to make. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is make some sprinkles and such to put on the top of our cake pops. And I've done some white ones and some green ones off camera, but I thought I would do the red ones on camera. Be sure you have a wet wipe handy when you're working with red polymer clay, because as you can see, my perfectly clean hands are now all full of red, which is why I'm doing this one last. So I'm just making as thin of a snake as I possibly can. I mean, we're talking less than a 1/16 of an inch. There. Let's cut that in half. It'll be a little easier to handle. Oops, well, I didn't mean to break it, but that's okay. Get it as consistent as you can within reason. I mean, people are not, no one will come out and, measure your sprinkles to make sure they're all the same width. And then we're just going to cut little pieces. And you can see how small these are. And then I've got a paper plate where I've already been putting the green and the white ones. I'm just going to drop them on there. So I won't make you sit through watching all of this. I'll just do this one snake. If they don't stick to your knife, that's okay. We can pick them up with the knife. If they stick together on the paper plate, that's okay. We can use our dental pick or other sharp pointy tool to separate them again. All is fine. Oops, that one got too big. I don't like that. Put that off to the side with my spare clay. All right, so that's all I'm going to do right now. Off camera, I will finish up the red ones that shape. Now I'm going to take a little more clay. Excuse me. I'm going to roll not quite as thin of a snake, but almost. And this one, we're going to again cut into a bunch of thin pieces, little short pieces. And we're going to drop those down on our tray. Take one at a time, and yeah, this is going to take a while. I recommend putting on a movie, put on some music, whatever, and we're going to smush it like that and drop it off to the side. Roll it in a ball, smush it. Roll it in a ball and smush. And these are our little round sprinkles. Now you could also make little tiny balls, but those would need to be really tiny if they stick together. I don't have my dental pick out right now, but I've got a toothpick, so that's fine. And then transfer those to another plate. And I'm keeping these separate because I want to be able to work with them separately. So I have green and white ones on there already. I'm going to finish up these sprinkles, and when I get that done, I'll come back and we'll make some little peppermint chunks for another of our cake pops. Alright, here I have some pearl clay, which unfortunately I've gotten some red onto from my fingers, even though I cleaned them and cleaned them and cleaned them. But that's okay. So we're going to roll this out. It'll be fine because it's going to be part of a peppermint. Now, If I was making peppermint candies, I would actually put translucent into that. But that's not what we're doing today. We're just going to chop these up and put them on top of one variety of cake pops. So we are going to roll out some red. This is the same red I was using before. I'm going to get it really thin. Now, any pearl that you've got out now is going to be ruined. We're not going to be able to reuse any of the pearl. The red will be fine. I'm going to peel off. I'm going to roll that out even thinner. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, the whole thing, any red that's hanging over, any pearl that's hanging over, it's fine. We're just going to chop this up. I'm going long, thin pieces. You want it to look like somebody took like candy canes or the little peppermint round candies and just crush them with a hammer or something, you know, like you do. So they don't have to be, you don't have to cut straight, you don't have to cut even, it's fine. And the thing is, we're going to have extras of all of these toppings that I'm making, so I'm just going to transfer them onto another paper plate. Now I'm doing this on its own paper plate. I'm doing each type of topping separately. That way I can move these to, once they're baked off, anything that's left from what we do today, we can just put into a little tiny Ziploc bag and put it with our clay. And then the next time we need peppermint bits or sprinkles or whatever, we will already have at least these colors. Over time, you can get quite a collection. Very easily and very quickly, you can get quite a collection of little sprinkles and things to decorate your doll foods with. And it doesn't take you that much more time. Now we've already cut these. I'm just going to leave them the way they are, and then I'm going to break them up with my fingers once they come out. Now since these are all going to get baked again in the oven with the cake pops, I'm only going to bake these for 5 minutes at 275, just so that they harden enough that they won't squish when we put them on. So when these are baked, I'll be back and we'll go on to another step. All right, all our sprinkles are out of the oven and they're cooling. So now we are going to start working on the cake pops themselves. So what I've done off camera, because I didn't think you needed to watch me paint them, I painted a dozen round toothpicks with white craft paint, and then I cut them to 2 inches long. From the tip to the cut edge is 2 inches. I'll touch up any paint that needs touching up after we're all done. So I'm going to start with white, which I know is going to be harder to see on camera, but I want to start with white while my hands are clean, because we're going to do white cake pops, brown for chocolate, and then some red ones. I played around with the green clay, and I really didn't come up with any green ones that I thought looked nice the other day, so we're not going to do green today. We're just going to do chocolate ones, red ones, and white ones. I've got some, and we're going to decorate, we're going to do a couple of different decorating things on them so that you can see a couple of ideas. It's not a huge tutorial today as far as numbers of things. It's a lot of fun, and it's perfect for the holidays. So I am already rolling that too thin. I want a 3/8 of an inch, about 3/8 of an inch snake. I'm going to cut the very end off because I don't want the very end. It's not round. And also that any marks that are in it will be there. And I'm going to do 4 of each color. So I want to make a dozen. I'm making 3 colors. So I will do 1 on camera and then turn the camera off. I'll come back when I do the red ones again so that you can see what they look like. We do need to have some TLS. And I'm going to put that off to the side of my tray where I don't bump into it, but just know it's over here. Just a little tiny pool. I'm going to get a nice round ball. And then I'm going to take the pointy end of the toothpick, whoops, pointy end, dip it into the TLS, and put this into my cake pop. And then I'm going to try and make sure this is as round as possible. Here we go. And then I've got a little block. I just drilled holes in here to hold the toothpicks upright so that when I bake these, they will bake nice and not bump into each other, not get flattened. All right, I only got to do one more on camera. So roll a ball. I want about a 3/8 of an inch ball. Dip your toothpick into TLS. Push it up in there. Reform this ball. Now if you have a lot of fingerprints, dip your finger into some cornstarch and just kind of rub the little fingerprints out. I'll be back when I do the red one so you can see a little better probably against the white tile. Alright, now I'm going to repeat the same steps that I just did with the white with the red. That way you can kind of see, hopefully see a little bit better, because the red clay will stand out against my tile a little more. My tile is still damp. I cleaned it after the brown clay. Alright, and that's close enough. I'll just cut them a little shorter, a little longer. Alright, so I've rolled that out to approximately 3/8 of an inch. Okay, and I want an approximately 3/8 of an inch ball, round ball. Now I'm going to take a toothpick, one of these white painted toothpicks, dip it into my TLS that I've got off to the side. We're going to be using quite a bit of TLS today. And I kind of run my thumb around just to make sure I get all that extra TLS off the toothpick. Now what the TLS is doing, it's going to glue that. It's going to act as a glue. That's one of the things we're going to use it for today a couple of times. We're also going to use it to make frosting or decorator's icing when we get to that step. Stick it in. Now if you see a lot of fingerprints that are bothering you or other little imperfections, dip your finger in cornstarch and kind of rub those out. That works really well. I may have cut these. Yeah, I think they're okay. I was wondering for a second if maybe they were a little small. I think those are a little bit too small. I think I'm going to add just the tiniest bit of red clay to each of those, just so that they aren't quite so much smaller than everybody else. You want to get them all around the same size. Like I said, 3/8 of an inch is a good size for this. I looked up a lot of cake pop ideas online, and I think if you guys like this video, we'll probably do cake pops for other holidays too, because they're a lot of fun to do. Okay, last one. And I always do the red clay last because, as you can see, it gets all over me, all over my tools. I'm going to have to do a thorough cleaning of everything now. All right, wipe that extra. All right, put that one just a little further. And we can always trim our sticks down later. So here we are. I'm going to stick this onto a paper plate or another baking surface to bake these. I'm going to bake them for 10 minutes at 275, and when they are completely cool, I'll come back and we can start the decorating process. Alright, here are our cake pops. They're all baked off. I'm going to set those to the side so we can get ready to decorate them. I also put all of our sprinkles in one container, the pepperminty pieces are in another, and those guys are in another. So now I'm going to make some icing. And we're going to use polymer clay. Now you can do this with any color polymer clay. I'm going to use white today because that's the color I'm going to use on all of these, even the white ones. So put some polymer clay out on your table and put some TLS on it. Do this on a surface that is clay safe, obviously. I've got way too much here, but I wanted to make sure that I had enough that you guys could see what I was doing. And I'm just using a craft stick. I prefer to use a craft stick, especially once this gets more gooey, because it is going to get gooey is really the only word for it. And if you're going to ice a doll-sized cake, you're going to, with this, you're going to go thicker than we are today. We will be using this again, I'm sure, in the future to do other things, the same idea. If you have a clay safe container, you could make this and save it. But make sure that your container is clay safe. I'm actually testing one on my table right now, but I don't know if it's going to work or not. If you put it in a container that's not clay safe, it will eat right through it, especially certain plastics. If you've got a glass jar, that would probably be the safest. It's a little bit thinner, so I'm going to turn the camera off. I'm going to continue to add TLS to this and mix it in until I get it to the texture I want. When that is accomplished, I'll be back. Alright, so the frosting icing is done. You can see it's kind of a soft, sticky, stringy kind of consistency. And I've got some of our peppermint pieces that we made earlier. And I've got my favorite tool for applying, picking up little tiny things. This is a piece of raw spaghetti. So we'll get to that in a second. So I'm going to use a toothpick. Kind of stir this around a little. Now I've got lots of extra icing. This can be saved in a Fimo safe or polymer clay safe container, and it will keep for a long time as long as it's in a container that's safe for polymer clay. And I'm actually testing a couple of different ones currently. But I use this often enough that I do like to have some on hand. Now, if you put it in a container that is not polymer clay safe, it will actually, like a plastic container, it will actually melt the plastic on some plastics. So you do have to be careful. Glass is the safest. So if you've got some small glass containers with lids, that would be your safest bet. So I use my tongue to wet the end of my piece of spaghetti, but whoops, I've got a little there. If you've got little, like pieces of sticky out on that icing, just poke them down with your finger or with a tool. And I did a white one like this also. I'm doing two of each, plus a couple of extras because this is actually a refilm of this. So I've got red ones and white ones and chocolate ones of this design. In fact, all three are going to be in both designs we're going to do. That would be the best way to say that. Sort of how I awkwardly did it. All right, there we go. So I'm going to put that in my holder, and I'm going to put the icing on again. So you can see me do it. I thought if you saw me do it twice, if I wander out from under camera, hopefully on one, hopefully you'll see on the other one. And also if you missed it, hopefully you'll catch what I'm doing the second time around. Now try to be neat. It's hard with this stuff. It has a mind of its own, and kind of the idea, what I'm trying to do here is make this look kind of, I guess snow-capped would be a good way to word this. And I'm going to get a clean toothpick and to kind of use that to manipulate this just a little bit. There. And we can do more trimming when this comes out of the oven. Here's my spaghetti again. Yeah, the starch on the raw pasta is what is sticky. It's just sticky enough to pick up lightweight things. I use this a lot. The last couple of times I've done clay, though, I've been out of spaghetti. I actually had to buy spaghetti the other day because I was out. I think I use it more for crafting than I eat it. Okay. Put a couple pieces right there. All right, I am going to set up to do a couple of the cake pops with the sprinkles on them, so I'll be right back. All right, time to do our cake pops with sprinkles. So I've got my little long sprinkles here. And I find when they're grouped together, I use my thumbnail and just kind of poke between them. Cup your other hand over. They're going to fly, but that is usually the best way to get them apart. So now stir your icing up. We want that stringiness for this application. And we want to go back and forth across our cake pop. You want thin pieces, but you need enough of them. What is happening here is the TLS that's in our icing is acting not only as the thinner for our icing, it's also acting as our glue for our decorations. So we don't have to use extra TLS. We can just use our icing. I think I need to get a fresh toothpick. I think that one's just getting too, yeah. All right. Now I broke a fresh end on my piece of spaghetti. Make sure that your pieces of clay are touching at least some of the icing. If you just put it on the cake pop, it's not going to stay. If you don't want to lick the spaghetti, just keep a little, like a wet towel or a sponge on your work surface, next to your work surface, so that you can use that to wet. You just need to have the end of the spaghetti damp to make it work. All right, I think that looks pretty good. So let's repeat that again with the brown one, and we'll use the other shaped sprinkles. This one is a lot of fun to do with the way the icing goes across. If you have spots like that that are sticking up awkwardly, just pat them down. But the TLS icing, the icing here, with the TLS in it, it wants to be stringy, so that makes it ideal for this. And this is just one way to do it. And remember, you're not going to get an exact replica of the ones that you see online. Just look online, find ones you like, and decide how can I do this, whoops, and make it look similar. Okay. I don't like that little curly bit there. Can I get it off? Kind of. Okay. Now you could leave off the white sprinkles if you want. They don't show a lot. I'm sure they're not showing much on camera. They do show a little bit in person, and it looks really cool. I want a little more icing right there. All right, now these need to bake at 275. I'm going to bake them for the full 10 minutes just to make sure the TLS is all cured, and when that's done, I'll be back and we will do the final step. So here are our cake pops. Now you kind of look at them like that one. If you've got any spots that are really hanging out, you might want to trim them. And this is the time to do that. Kind of look them over. Are you happy with them? Did everything go where you want it to? Do you need to add something? If you want to add a few more pieces of sprinkles, you can always use just some plain TLS. Dot it on, put a few more on, and put them back in the oven and cure it again. So that's all that would take. I'm happy with how these came out, so I'm going to put a coat of matte Mod Podge. I'm using matte because I don't want this to be super, super shiny. I just want a subtle, to make it look a little more natural. But also, the Mod Podge will help to hold on our little bits. It'll add just a little extra insurance that they're not going to fall off. And I'll just do one or two on camera and the rest I'll do off. But it's just like anything else, a nice light coat. Don't go too heavy, although matte Mod Podge behaves pretty well on polymer clay. You don't want a thick coat. Thick coats of Mod Podge can give you problems. They can stay cloudy. They can remain sticky. You have to be careful with how you do it. I'm just going to go ahead and coat everybody for a nice, fairly light coat. Try and make it fairly smooth and kind of work it in to the area between your sprinkles. Help to anchor them. So when this is all dry, I'll come back and we'll take a look at them. All right, here is a mug of our completed cake pops. I hope you enjoyed this project. Let me know what you think of it. I'm kind of envisioning, if you guys enjoyed this, maybe making this into a sort of a seasonal series where we visit cake pops for different holidays. I can picture some really cute, like Valentine's, Easter, Halloween, summer. It'd just be a lot of fun if you guys are on board too, so let me know. I hope you enjoyed today's project. If you did, be sure and hit the like button. Leave me a comment. If you haven't subscribed and you enjoy my content, hit that subscription button and the notification bell so you know when I put up new videos. Be sure and check the blog post. I'm hoping to have some really good photos over there of the cake pops. I'll try and take some close-ups so you can see a little closer than you can on the video. Check us out on Facebook, and I will talk to you later. Bye.